Hi, I'm Michaela, and you're listening to 102.7 CKMS, Radio Waterloo.
I'm Dave Piper from the North Dumfries Historical Preservation Society. What do I like about community radio? Well, I think it helps create an identity for the local community. And all communities have to have some and need some form of identity to appreciate what's going on around them.
Listening to CKMS 102.7 FM Radio Waterloo, and that was Wake Up and Rise by Diggin' Roots. We are Two Wet Feather and Lori Gentle Eagle, and this is the Red Road Journey, where we aim to amplify Indigenous voices to heal ourselves, all our relations, our community, and our planet. We are broadcasting you from the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We continue down the Red Road journey today with our focus on other diverse ways our brain is created and influences on how some of our relatives make sense of the world and interact with others. Neurodivergence is an umbrella term that speaks to a broad spectrum of cognitive differences like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and other learning disabilities like FAS, Tourette's, acquired brain injury, Down syndrome, PTSD, and more. It is important to know that even these who are neurodivergent in some way act different in different ways and require different types of support. The colonial mind gives the gold star to the neurotypical brain, and it stimulates folks who are physically, mentally, emotionally different from what is considered the norm. The rainbow infinity sign promotes diverse ways of thinking and being are all valid and diverse of respect. So our next song is Unperfect by Bree. She is a singer with autism, and check out her official page for strategies to let go of control and live your life free of anxiety. So here she is, Bree, Unperfect.
To be perfect in everyone's eyes. Every night I would cry. I was never enough for me. I thought that I wouldn't break. I could be strong, I'd carry the weight. I'm taking it off. And I've gotta say, it's easier to breathe. I am imperfect and that is okay. I'm doing the best that I can today. And if that isn't enough, then what could be? I am perfectly. The pressure's getting so high. Everyone is trying to get by. We become obsessed with a lie that we are alone. We are unperfect and that is okay. We're doing the best that we can today. We're trying to grow up with the world at our feet. We are unperfect. It's unperfect. I'm unperfect, perfectly.
So that was Unperfect by Bree. Our next tune is What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. And she lives with Tourette's. And Gentle Eagle would like to say something about what Billie Eilish had posted. So let us pull that up. Maybe we'll play the song first, and then she'll read it while she finds it. So here is Billie Eilish. What was I made for?
I used to float, now I just fall down. I used to know, but I'm not sure now what I was made for. What was I don't know how to feel, but I wanna try. I don't know how to feel, but someday I might. Someday I think I forgot how to be happy. Something I'm not, but something I can be. Something I wait for. Something I'm made for. Something I'm made for.
Okay, so that was Billie Eilish. And I found a post on her Instagram, actually, and I thought I would share it today. It's very fitting. She says, "I would love to get this straight so everyone can stop acting goofy. I have diagnosed Tourette's. I've never mentioned it on the internet because nobody thinks I'm dead ass, as well as the fact that I've just never wanted people to think of Tourette's every time they think of me. My tics are only physical and not super noticeable to others if you're not really paying attention. Believe me, having them is a whole different type of misery. My Tourette's makes easy things a lot harder. Certain things increase and or trigger the intensity of my tics. But it's something I grew up with and I'm used to. And my family, closest friends know that it's a part of me. I've taught myself ways of suppressing my tics and certain techniques to help reduce them when I don't want to be distracting in certain situations. But again, suppressing them only makes things worse after the moment is over. I'm not going to go into full detail, but if you want to know more, I am an open book." So that was Billie Eilish just sharing a little bit about her lived and living experience with Tourette's, and what a wonderful role model in so many respects.
Yes, for sure. So our next song is Play Grateful by Joelle. She's a singer, songwriter who lived in Alaska without running water or electricity and was teased for having dyslexia. She now sees it as a cool way of thinking and seeing patterns. So here it is.
When I can't find my song, when darkness is all I see, there is a remedy. It's all the little things that make the world go round. It's all the little things that are most powerful. There's no politician, no sky to die. No one can take the love from my heart. The sun gonna shine, and in this heart of mine, the sun gonna shine, and in this heart of mine, the sun gonna shine. Ooh, it's true. lights I do see. No, no, no one can take that from me. 'Cause the sun's gonna shine in this heart of mine. The sun's gonna shine in this heart of mine. The sun's gonna shine, ooh, it's true. But I can always be grateful. Ooh, 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 ooh. So bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on now. Bring it on, 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 bring it on now. Sing it on, sing it on, sing it on, sing it on now. I'm singing on, I'm singing on, sing it on. 'Cause the sun's gonna shine, and in this heart of mine, the sun's gonna shine, and in this heart of mine, the sun's gonna shine, ooh, it's true. 'Cause I can always be grateful. The sun's gonna shine, and in this heart of mine, the sun's gonna shine, and in this heart of mine, the sun's gonna shine, ooh, it's true. Lord, I can always be, Lord, I can always be, Lord, I can always be grateful.
So that was Jewel, and that song was Grateful. And some of you may remember we were first exposed to Jewel, back in mid-90s, I would say. And she was living out of her car at the time, so homeless. And I understand that that was a result of a job that she had where she was sexually harassed. And rather than go back to that environment, she chose to live in her car, continue to write her poetry and her music, and as a result, we had an amazing album from her, Pieces of You, it was called. And there's another track on Pieces of You, Who Will Save Your Soul? And that apparently speaks about her experiences with neurodivergence a little bit, and the help that she received. So anyways, thank you to Jewel for that and sharing a little bit about her living experience with dyslexia and being homeless, etc. We're now going to turn our attention to a man by the name of Grant Bruno. He is from Sampson Cree First Nation in Alberta. And his PhD research looks at autism, but autism through an Indigenous lens. He is Cree, and he introduces us to a Cree word for autism, which unfortunately we weren't able to get the pronunciation for. Did you know that Google Translate does not have any Indigenous First Nation specifically languages in it? So I'm going to spell it. It's Pitoteyihtam. And if any of our listeners out there know how to pronounce that, let us know. We'd love to know. At any rate, what it means is one who thinks differently. So again, seeing neurodivergence, autism specifically, as a gift. In his documentary, The Gift of Being Different, that's the title, he explains that a piece of the autistic child remains with Creator when they're born. And he says that having autism is of spiritual significance because of that. Grant shares his lived and living experiences of parenting 2 children with autism. And one of the wisdoms that he speaks of in the film is the importance of cultural connection and well-being. In the beginning of the video, we actually see him braiding one of his son's hair, which he says he does daily upon waking with his son. And he does that to teach patience and being gentle with oneself. It's a routine that helps both his son and himself to connect, but in particular his son to verbalize what is going on in his mind, because he's not always verbal. Grant's research brings a strength-based cultural understanding that addresses stigma and discrimination. It is research that is done by and for the Indigenous community, and it is influencing change by way of setting up advisory circles that are made up of elders, autistic people, service providers, and educators, whose goal it is to adapt ceremonies and cultural events so that they are sensory friendly. So I believe the council, the very first one that they looked at changing was a round dance, I believe. And then they were also looking at possibility of making adaptations to a sweat lodge ceremony as well. So that's some good stuff to come. This father reminds us that Indigenous families love and celebrate their children as they are, even though they might be having trouble in the colonized systems. Grant Bruno truly is a champion for acceptance first and then treatment. Recently, Two White Feather and I had the opportunity to interview two individuals, and we're going to share pieces of those interviews with you today. The first one is with a woman by the name of Justine. She too has a daughter, in this case, who lives with autism. And Justine herself is also neurodivergent, and she shares a little bit about how that dynamic plays out for themselves. So,
hello, this is Two White Feather, and thank you for coming on the Red Road Journey podcast today. Can you introduce yourself and including your Indigenous background?
No problem. Thank you. My name is Justine, and I'm actually estranged from the majority of my family, and I'm still searching for confirmation of my Indigenous roots. I know that on my father's side, we have heritage around the Oromocto First Nation Reserve in New Brunswick, and that's the closest I've gotten to any information.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So how do you identify with the neurodivergent community?
The neurodivergent community. So it took a while for me to really realize how much I identified with the neurodivergent community. Kind of difficult to talk about if you don't aren't part of it and don't understand. For someone who is neurodivergent and not growing up knowing they're neurodivergent, it can be really hard to understand where you belong. And I personally grew up thinking I must be some sort of adopted alien because who am I? How I don't relate to anybody in my life and in my family and in my peer community. It wasn't until I found more neurodivergent people that I actually found people that I related to and that I could understand and connect with. So, I guess it's an interesting theory, and being connected with this community is a blessing because everybody seems to understand what you're going through, and so recently I became very deeply connected with our local neurodivergent community, which is incredibly amazing and supportive, which has been a real blessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I learned about neurodivergence was that it's really broad-based in terms of, what the definition is. And not everybody agrees that that's a good thing, that it should be as broad-based, and then there's other people that completely feel, the complete opposite way. But I mean, it can, I've seen the umbrella, so for those listeners that are not familiar with the umbrella, we'll maybe put that up on the show notes, but it can include things like neurodevelopmental disorders, some mental health issues, fetal alcohol, which is what we've focused on in the last 2 episodes. And a lot of times when people hear neurodivergence, the first thing that comes to mind is autism, spectrum disorder, or ADHD, and some of those more, common, I guess, labels or definitions. But it can be really broad-based. Even post-traumatic stress is there as well. So we're going to focus a little bit on autism and ADHD in this episode, because I understand that those are things that you have lived and living experience of.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
We commonly in the community, we've started referring to it as ADHD. So capital A, lowercase u, and then capital D-H-D, to kind of integrate that autism in with the ADHD. And I have both, and both my children inherited both. And in a very general way, autism spectrum disorder is just a neurological difference in the way the brain is wired. There's a lot of specific details on what it's like synaptic pruning. Neurotypical brains, when you learn new information, your brain just decides what's important, what's not, prunes the synapses that aren't important, and focuses your synapses. Whereas an autistic brain just keeps them all, hoards all the synapses. Yeah. There's no pruning, which is why it can take us a little bit longer to access or process information, is because we have significantly more things going on in our brain at any given time. Okay. So you said both yourself and 2 children. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Can you tell us a little bit? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a 19-year-old non-binary child, and then I also have an 8-year-old who is living at home still.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges and also some of the strengths that have come with this for all 3 of you?
Oh, there are so many challenges. Most of the challenges I have noticed in this with the neurodivergence is not so much the neurodivergence itself, but as the way our society and our community is set up. We live in a culture that doesn't honor or respect literally any difference. So everything is a battle, right? And there's not a lot of understanding. So the challenges come from not knowing what's going on and not understanding why they're different, and the shaming that comes from being different. Because honestly, I love it. I know that my oldest really struggles with neurodivergence. Unfortunately, when you have autism and ADHD, you can often develop CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, just by having the neurodivergence and existing in this world. Because from the moment that we're able to talk about how we experience the world, we're told by everyone else that that's wrong and we're lying. So we're never able to develop an understanding of what goes on inside of our own bodies. We distrust our own thoughts, because I heard that sound from the kitchen that's humming, but my parents tell me that I'm wrong and I'm lying and there's no sound. But really, I just can hear the fridge running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
My oldest has, and we both developed CPTSD from that, among other things, in our lives growing up. So there can be severe struggles for it. But looking at my youngest, who is growing up understanding what neurodivergence is, it being explained to her, support is given to her, coping skills have been taught to her. And now I just see a brilliant, enthusiastic, and creative person who is just brimming with a desire to learn almost everything, who has so much love for everyone. Because another trait about autism is thought in the medical field to be a lack of empathy, but it's actually hyper empathy. There's so much empathy that we shut down from the pain of our emotions, our overwhelming feeling for the world and the things that are happening.
Okay.
That makes sense. So that sort of leads into our next question. Do you have any wisdom for managing sensory overload?
Yeah, sensory overload is really hard, and it definitely does depend on the person. Different people have different ways of dealing with it and different tolerances. Standard, quiet, dark. I have a lovely little kind of blanket fort that I go to in my basement that when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when there's too much, and I need to calm. It's dimmer lighting, so we're not assaulted by the bright fluorescence of what is typically in shopping stores, work, school, and that big ball of flame in the sky. And it's cooler, so it's not overheating. Everything's just calm. I've set up a very sacred, safe space for calming for me, and kind of added personal touches. Also, noise canceling headphones and earplugs are essential.
Yeah, for sure.
And managing breaks. Don't beat yourself up about I'm not doing enough, or I'm not going fast enough, or I'm not keeping up with whoever. You are the only person that's important. If you can't keep yourself regulated and comfy, safe, and happy, how are you going to do anything for anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have homeschooled, right? Your youngest, or did you do the homeschooling with both?
My oldest was a different scenario. My youngest has been homeschooling since pretty much since toddlerhood.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like? How you've managed to bring that into the family?
So it was kind of daunting at first. I didn't think that it was something that I could do. And then I learned a little bit more about what happens in a public school, and how little education time actually happens in public schools. So through learning more about homeschooling and going through that decision-making process, I kind of learned that our public school system was set up to create factory workers, in order to basically make us little kids okay with sitting still and just listening and doing what they're told. And it's designed, there's actual articles, there's a lot of information out of there. It was designed after prison.
Okay, yeah.
So school is kind of like a punishment. And so, well, there are many children that do fine in a public school setting. Neurodivergent children do not typically. And it was a disaster for my oldest. It was traumatizing for me. So I just decided, I can't put this sweet, innocent, and very overwhelmed child into this. My youngest gets really overwhelmed by sounds, and she can't learn if she can't think. And you can't think when all of your systems and your sensory systems are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's really no point in her going to the public school system. And then when learning about how at school, transitioning from one thing to the other for a teacher with 30 kids, that takes up a lot of time. All the other things that they do are recess, their lunch break, what are they called? The little things they do in the auditorium Assembly, that's it, the word assembly, things like that. And then like special events they do at school for fun to keep the kids, engaged and wanting to go to school. All these things take up so much time that there's only an hour of instruction time in a school day, but the kid's in there for 5-6 hours. Yeah. So putting an hour of instruction time in my day is really easy, especially because with ADHD, you can't spend necessarily 1 hour on something super boring the kid doesn't like. So breaking it up into 10 to 15 minute chunks is exactly what a child needs in order to be able to learn. It's like so much more freedom, honestly, to do it at home. It doesn't take a lot of I guess for me, it doesn't take a lot of planning or research. I enjoy it, so it's easy for me. For sure. And then and there's a lot of tools available. A lot of I have platforms that I use for the education to teach her things that I'm not particularly.
Oh, I think we've. Okay, we lost you for a second there, but you're back. Yeah. So you have a lot of tools, and you said you were on platforms. Yep. Yes,
there's something called Schoolio. There's a platform called OutSchool where you can basically sign your kid up for one-hour classes or little lessons. We take advantage of a lot of community programs and online programming. Okay. And it's really awesome to give her the opportunity to engage with a lot of other communities. At a public school, you're at school. Sure, you have field trips, but you're just at school. Well, homeschooling, I bring her to a provincial park and we go to the education center and then we learn about the trees in the park and the birds in the park and we learn from the park rangers whenever we go to visit a park. We do a lot of hands-on immersive learning that you can't really do in a school. Yeah.
Right. Now, how does she get that socialization with others?
Socialization, so first of all, school socialization and human socialization is very different. In a public school, you remember back in school where they stop talking to your friend, you're not here to socialize. Yeah.
That's true.
So, so there is no, there's no decent and human socialization that's good for us at school. A lot of, sorry, I'm going to have to move my phone's about to head up. There's, the socialization that happens in school isn't necessarily good for children because a lot of it has to do with, forming not necessarily positive social groups, right? This is where you get more kids that stick around together and bully each other for their differences. And because there aren't any adults in there to stop the children from bullying each other or monitor their conversation or help guide them, the kids just learn to bully each other and then maybe cry about it because there's nobody there to support them through it. Whereas at home, she socializes with people of all different ages, not just children, but she socializes with adults. We have play dates at parks with community groups. And again, when she goes camping, she meets a lot of different people then.
Yeah.
Right, good.
Right on. So, the last question we have you had any difficulties with the mental health or the justice system?
Yes, definitely difficulties with the mental health and justice system. Me personally, for my own self, it wasn't an experience. See if I can explain this a little better. I have seen the way the justice system has dealt with someone who has very similar mental health diagnosis that I do. And the way when they were having a meltdown, they were dismissed. And when I tried to help, because I tried to advocate for others who can't advocate for themselves. And my friend, the police were here, and he was really struggling with his issues, and the way they dismissed me, they yelled at me, they told me to stay out of it, even though I'm there literally to advocate for this person he has every right to have an advocate for him. And he wasn't violent or aggressive or anything, and they were just so aggressive and yelling and screaming at him, and it was a terrifying experience. And I am deeply aware that I look like I am Caucasian. I look like I am a fully white person, and the other person involved looked fully white. So I am deeply aware of the privilege that I had in that situation to be at the safety level that I was at. And it was still a terrifying experience. Getting supports as an adult with disabilities, there's almost no supports available because I have enough cognitive functioning to be able to live on my own. It doesn't matter that I have literally spent months crying, hyperventilating, unable to function for myself. The only thing that kept me going during some of my worst times was my children, and my need to make sure that they were safe and well taken care of, over myself and my own well-being. And I know that I begged for help. I begged for help, for support, for me. I could get a little bit of support for my children because they went through enough of the hoops. I went through enough red tape and enough form filling to get a little bit of support for one of my children. Yeah. But I couldn't get support for me. There was a point in time where my physical disabilities got so bad that I couldn't walk, but still, there's no support. There's no support anywhere for us. Because we live in the capitalism and not a socialism.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be a very common experience. Like even in listening to some of the people speak with FAS that we were interviewing, if you have the diagnosis, which of course that's a privilege to be able to access a diagnosis, and it usually comes if people have intervened early, right, and had access to funds and did jump through the hoops and filled out those forms as you said, but for those where that wasn't the case, you jump into adulthood with next to nothing, and you find yourselves in systems that just don't get it. They see a meltdown like you described and then add to that meltdown and make it worse, and things escalate because they just don't understand.
Try and make it worse.
Yeah, exactly. So
even with supports, you can get those supports as a child, but you turn 18 and you lose all of them. Well, all of them. I went through that with my oldest. They were the one that had the supports in place, and they lost access to everything because they're just not disabled enough.
Yeah, and that's I think an important point that you brought up as well is looking at both FAS and autism and many disabilities. They occur on a spectrum, and there seems to be a lack of understanding of what that really means, right? And how you can be functioning when you're having a good day. And then you might have a bad day in there, or a bad week, or what have you, and people don't understand that and think there's some dishonesty or some manipulation going on or whatever, when really it's just experiencing that spectrum, and there's so many other factors that go into that. So
for the actual last question,
you forgot one.
Yeah. What would you like to see in creating a more neurodivergent friendly world?
As she's petting her cat. Yes. Wonderful. We love animals. We'd love to have animals.
So there are a lot of things. I mean, the biggest thing, it all starts with empathy. The ability to recognize that someone else's experience is different than yours and accept their experience as real.
Yeah.
Right? That's where it all starts. I sprinkle in a little bit of compassion here, and maybe, you know, things like emotional support animals. Instead of having to go through and only certify a service dog for mental health disabilities, just let us have our emotional support animals.
Right.
I know someone that has a bearded dragon as an emotional support animal.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
She goes to my doctor's office and she takes him with her, and like, he's just the sweetest thing.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, so there could be a lot of changes that could be done, especially for me and you, being non-divergent, and that's just not me and you, but everyone like us, right? So that the world can have a better understanding, and, you know, hopefully sooner than later we'll get to that point. But yeah.
And I think that.
So that was Justine's interview there. So our next interview is going to be actually my sister's. So Cheyenne Ritchie. So let me pull up hers and get her started here. And I know she is very excited to for this interview. So yeah. So let me. Journey today, Cheyenne. Can you introduce yourself, including your First Nations?
Hi, so I'm Cheyenne Winifred Ritchie from Saugeen First Nation, number 29, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, right on. So, how do you parent of a child with autism and a sister to brother with FASD?
So it can be difficult at times. I've noticed that I really have to watch how I word things, because things can be taken differently depending on how you say it. So like sometimes, like depending on what I say, I know it triggers my son. Sometimes it can trigger my brother as well. So I have to really think about what I'm saying before I say it.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. So what are your son's struggles with autism, and what are his gifts?
Okay, so my son doesn't actually have autism, but he is on the spectrum for it. So he struggles with speech and behavioral issues. I know that when we were still, like, I don't know, I guess together as a family fully or whatever, we were in the process of it, and he was seeing someone in daycare to help him with speech, and he still sees someone in school, as far as I know, to help him with his speech and his behavioral issues. But he is really smart, and he like really focuses on certain things. Right now he's really focused on drawing and doing crafts, and he really seems to take an interest in numbers right now.
Oh, right on. And I know that in our upcoming for Powwow weekend up in Saugeen, we will be selling some of his pictures and stuff there. So come on out and support him. And like I said, we'll have some pictures, and we're gonna have some lemonade that they're gonna sell on Saturdays. So that's gonna be fun too. So yeah. So what helps you relate with each other in a good way?
So with him, to connect, we do a lot of crafts, drawing and painting. For me and him, we do drawing contests of his favorite YouTube characters, and Roblox, I think?
Yeah.
I think, no, Peely. It's from Fortnite.
Okay,
Fortnite.
yeah.
So we do a lot of like drawing competitions of that, and some of my favorite anime characters.
Yeah.
And then he really likes like learning games. So right now we're doing Tetris and like matching games, and we're slowly learning how to do Go Fish.
Yeah, right on.
Number games and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Right on. I can already tell he's really smart, and he's a really good drawer too. I know that. So
yes, he is.
So how do you manage caregiver burnout. So when you get burnt out, with your sons or your brother or sister, how do you manage that and take care of yourself?
I don't really know if I manage it well or deal with it well, to be honest with you. Sometimes my patience isn't always there because I hate having to repeat myself and do things over and over again the same way.
Yeah.
And I have to do that kind of thing with my son or my brother or my sister and stuff. Things have to be done a certain way. But I don't know. I use herbal medicine a lot.
Yeah.
And when things happen with my son and things get out of hand and whatnot, we do breathing techniques. Right for a couple minutes, and then we take our time, and then we end up just talking about it. We sit down and we talk.
Right on. So I know that I do that a lot, and it really helps me too. So that's just another coping mechanism for,
I've noticed that you really have to verify that it is okay for them to feel what they're feeling.
Exactly.
They're having feelings, and whatever it means to us, the feelings that they're feeling are very real for them, right?
Yeah.
So we have to take in that factor. Their feelings are more heightened than ours.
Yeah, exactly.
We feel so much more.
Yeah.
They're thinking about it more personally or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So, with the last question, how do you know? So, where did you had to go get him diagnosed at, or?
So, our process started when we were living in Meaford, when we were putting him into daycare, because as soon as we put him into daycare and whatnot, there was obviously the speech delay. Anybody who knows my son knows that it's difficult to understand him whatnot. And when he was younger, he had different tendencies. He didn't like he liked to be alone.
Yeah.
He didn't really like to interact with anyone, and that's kind of what started questioning everything and whatnot. So it started in daycare in Meaford, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what is 100% going on right now in his life, now that we're not all together as a family. But the little bits and pieces that I do get is that he has an EA to help him, and with his speech and his behavioral issues and whatnot. And actually, his younger brother also has one for his behavioral issues as well.
Yeah.
But Tyler has this EA for his speech and whatnot in school.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure what the whole process is right now, what's going on completely, but I hear little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But our process started in Meaford about 5 years ago.
Yeah, right on. So, I guess another question that just popped up there was, how do you deal with not being around them, and if so, would you want to try to be more in their life so that you could, for instance, with his diagnosis and stuff?
So honestly, I find it extremely difficult because me and his father are completely different parenting styles, and I go about things differently than he does, and I know that by the way when our son reacts when he's here with me. And I find it really difficult because I know Tyler, we talk and we have a certain form of connection to each other. And I know that he doesn't get that, and he struggles with that a little bit at home.
Yeah.
But he's also with a blended family, so things are a little bit difficult. He doesn't get that full one-on-one time or anything with his dad, right? Because there's a bunch of other children in the home that need care of and everything. But I struggle with it a lot because I feel like he needs me and he needs someone to talk to, and I know that he doesn't get that completely when he's not here with me.
Yeah, that must be hard. So I want to say thank you for coming on and answering some of the questions. I know it's sometimes hard talking about your son and whatnot. So yeah, thank you Cheyenne, and I am her brother, if you haven't guessed. So, so thank you. So that was my sister Cheyenne Ritchie from Saugeen First Nations.
Very, very proud family.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, thank you to Cheyenne for that interview as well. I've seen your caregiving in action on many occasions, and you're doing an amazing job.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And both your boys are pretty amazing, and I owe an apology. So I'm giving it a public apology to the boys because we did have a little bit of a weather issue up during the Saugeen Powwow weekend, and I let that get the better of me and took a little bit away from the lemonade stand and craft sales. So, the winds were just too much. The rain was getting everything wet, and my mood, I had a moment or two. So anyways, we're going to repeat the lemonade stand for sure. And also their artwork is going to be available on the Creator Shelf. And in fact, I think we're going up to Saugeen again in September for the Scone Fest. So we'll see what we can coordinate, but you'll hear more about Tyler and his little brother Trevor's artwork.
Oh,
yeah. So we're. I just want to summarize a few things before we close with a song, Justine's selection of the song. But we came across another woman, she's a consultant, actually, Symbia Barnaby. She's Haida and Mi'kmaq. Single mother, she has 6 children, 5 of who have disabilities. In addition to this consulting business, which she calls Healing Nation Consulting that she started up, she does have medical training as a nurse and a doula, but she credits her learning about neurodivergence to conversations with elders that she's had. And she talks a lot about the importance of being trauma-informed, Indigenous focused, and also neuro-affirming. So things like being okay with having the person's support person be with them to keep them on task and regulated, give them time and space for processing and interpreting and understanding information. See the person as a part of a unit, particularly important for Indigenous communities, right? They're together with family and connected to community and nation at all times, right? Support in a barrier-free way. Help while waiting on or without a diagnosis. Accessing Jordan's principle to ensure that things like assessments are covered financially, or maybe